Previously on Foursquare Sports, Kevin Zalatoris lit a fire under the Knicks' butt.
But if you can't close out a game, if you lose to the Atlanta Hawks the first round, it's unacceptable. It's a failure of a season. Complete failure.
Ever since Kevin Zalatoris went on a 10-minute rant about the New York Knicks' failures after the first 3 games being down 2-1, the New York Knicks bounced back in a major way, winning games 4 through 6 by a combined 96 points, winning by 16 in Game 4, 29 in Game 5, and then 51 in Game 6 to close out the series.
That's that Game 6. Oh my god!
I have never seen a game like that before in my life.
Dude,
we'll talk about it later.
That instantly puts the 2022 Suns to shame.
It absolutely does. Anyway, we got a lot going on. We have Jake Hauger as a special guest. Let's play the intro. Let's get the show started. Let's do it.
Flag football's almost as bad as amateur wrestling.
There's a lot that needs to be fixed.
What are we even hearing about?
Tiny rant here. I can't. Brian Cashman is as dumb as a doornail.
The U.S. will beat Canada in the gold medal game. Guaranteed!
Get Anthony Volpe off of my team.
Just give me my team.
Ladies and gentlemen, your eyes are not deceiving you. We do have a special guest here, Matt Sirianni, Kevin Zalatoris, and joining us today is East Lansing High School's own Jake Hauger. Jake, how you doing?
Doing great.
Awesome. We haven't had you on in a little bit, but it's obviously great. Now, little reminder, I didn't know, or none of us knew, that today was our very own John Welch's birthday. So, John, happy birthday, my man. Have a shot for us.
Yeah, happy birthday, John. We miss you, man.
Happy
We miss
birthday,
you, dude.
John.
Happy birthday, John.
Yep. Take a shot for all of us. We miss you.
Just one shot for all 4 of us, not 4 shots, because then
Yeah, just play it wisely. 1 shot and 1 shot only.
1 shot only.
One
Anyway.
giant shot glass.
One giant shot glass. Anyway, the title of this episode is At 6s and 7s. Yes, I said it. And the reason why it's called that is because, yes, that.
Alec, don't do it now. Don't.
It's because we have many Game 6s and many Game 7s that have happened over the course of the NBA and NHL playoffs. And usually when you look at the title of the episodes, they're usually a phrase or something that is creative. And this is a phrase, At 6s and 7s. Again, didn't know that was a phrase. But we also have a lot to get into. We got some MLB to discuss. We got NBA, NHL. And we also have a little something that we want to mention before we get into the sports talk. The Kentucky Derby happened an hour ago, and history was made. Golden Tempo with Cherry DeBow became the first female trainer to win the Kentucky Derby in the event's 152-year history. The horse had a 23-1 odds to win the race and ended up in last place to start, but then made up a ton of ground to win it all. Crazy.
History. And it means a lot for female trainers and the step and the path to getting the door to the opportunity open here with this historic victory for Golden Tempo, Cherry DeVoe, and rider Jose Ortiz, who came all the way from dead last, sweeping a tight pack. This was a race that had no clear favorite, but most of the public attention was on Arkansas Derby winner Renegade, the Florida Derby winner Commandment, Santa Anita Derby winner So Happy, and the Bill Mott trainee Chief Wallaby. But it was Golden Tempo with a winning time of 2 minutes, 2 seconds, and 27 hundredths. This impossible to believe that in the last few turns, the Golden Temple was near dead last at the Heat and came all the way back to win. Just unbelievable. What a comeback.
Just imagine live betting a horse like that with 23-1 odds and then being dead last in the beginning of the race. Like, if you live bet that, I'd love to see the payout.
It's probably a nice payout.
Would have been. Okay. Anyway, we got major stuff to get into. We're going to start off with Major League Baseball odds. Our first topic will start right now. So, we're going to start off with Major League Baseball, as mentioned before. Also, brief update. Sixers in a Game 7 against the Celtics. No Jason Tatum. Sixers are up 32-19 in the second quarter. But anyway, this is baseball. We're going to start off with a story that happened on Tuesday. This is also a little bit of a surprise, but not much of a surprise. The Phillies fired manager Rob Thompson after 4 seasons after a 9-19 start. And Philadelphia did this. They were the worst team in Major League Baseball at that point in time. They've kind of picked up a little bit, although they did lose 4-0 to the Miami Marlins. So not a good look for Philadelphia at all. And if you know the fan base, they're beyond apoplectic. So this happens, and now Philadelphia was looking for a new manager. And you figure that Alex Cora, who was fired by the Red Sox last week, would be the guy to take the job. Well, unfortunately, Alex Cora is going to take the rest of the season off to spend time with his family, which I respect. So Philadelphia will have Don Mattingly as their interim manager for the rest of the year, a guy who has had managerial experience in the past with the Dodgers, with the Marlins. So this is, I think, a good move for Philadelphia. But they're still going to be searching, but at least Don Mattingly gets another opportunity to manage. Jake, when you look at what happened in Philadelphia, what went wrong specifically, and why did Rob Thompson get the boot?
I mean, they just simply couldn't figure it out. They started out, what was it? It was like 9-19, you said.
Yes.
So if you think about it, Philadelphia, you just can't please them. I don't think that they needed to make a managerial change so early in the year. I think they could have waited to at least June or July to, make such a sweeping change, even getting through the month of May. But they just were simply dropping a ton of games that they really didn't need to. And so when you have a fan base and all that outside pressure, the Philadelphia media, the Philadelphia fans, and as a team, you need to make some sort of change if you want to remain competitive as a World Series contender. Then they did what they had to do, which was fire their manager, and now they're bringing in someone new. I thought they were going to get Cora, to be completely honest, because Alex Cora had just been let go, and Cora's not a bad manager. He just got dealt a bad hand with the Red Sox this year.
Yeah,
but Cora, doing I think a good choice for him as the person Alex Cora, not the manager Alex Cora, which is to take a year off for his family.
I mean, I get Alex Cora's perspective. I mean, he is a former World Series champion, and he's been through a lot. And Boston is just in a bad spot right now. We'll get to them in a little bit and how bad things have gotten there. But Alex Cora, for his experience and for his championship that he won, I don't know if Philadelphia would be the best place to go to right now, especially after you just got fired. I mean, now if Philadelphia did hire Alex Cora, it would have been a desperation move for sure because, you're picking up other people's treasure. One man's trash is another man's treasure, basically. That's what Philadelphia would have done. But Philadelphia, listen, I think you just give Donnie Mattingly a chance. Like I said, he has experience in this position. And I think that if you want, maybe he can take you places. I don't think Philadelphia is going anywhere this year. Their offense just seems so lifeless. And their pitching is just so uninspiring. It's just it's disappointing because this is a team that had division title hopes yet again. But I think another factor that got Rob Thompson fired, the shortcomings in the playoffs. Now, if you remember, Rob Thompson took the Phillies to the World Series as a 6th seed his first year, and then disappointing loss in the NLCS to, I think it was the Arizona Diamondbacks.
Yes.
Then you lose the 2 seed to the Mets. Then you lose the 2 seed to the Dodgers when the Dodgers were supposed to be the weaker opponent. And you lose that when your offense does not come to life when it needs to. So I think that alone also probably got Rob Thompson the boot. Kevin, what do you think?
Yeah, it's like a culmination of all of those things, like you said, Matt. I mean, the inconsistent play. I mean, they just haven't been playing up to their caliber, like we've seen in years past when they did go to the World Series 4 years ago. And after that, it just seems like it was a big drop off. And I understand, Jesus Luzardo got after a really bad start, their pitching rotation. You got to remember they also lost Ranger Suarez to the Red Sox
Yeah.
too. That's a big piece of their rotation that they had that they lost. Luzardo's like picking it up a little bit right now too, but the offense is like very inconsistent for the most part. Their bullpen, I mean, they got some pieces and they lost some pieces. Joan Duran, I think he's been fine for the acquisition that they got him for. But I think overall as a whole, it seems like they're just not clicking yet as a team so far in the season. And I can understand that because, it's like, we're still we just started the month of May. And it's still way early on in the season. And like, obviously, like it takes time to like really develop like in terms of like what you want your team to built up to be. But like, if you're the Phillies, obviously, and you're, a Philadelphia fan, like you expect more out of them, especially like even if it is early on in the season. And I think, the front office, heard like the outcry from like, the fans and saw the inconsistent play on the field. And they just decided to go for like, drastic measures and pull the plug on Rob Thompson and see if you can find it and see if you can run with Don Mattingly, who, like you said, has playing experience, like you said, the Dodgers, the Marlins, the Yankees, and what have you. And, he was recently one of the assistant coaches for the Blue Jays in that World Series year last year. And now he's with the Phillies. So you figured like, with a pedigree that he has, maybe he can like have a different voice in there. Maybe the Phillies can start, improving. But like, I feel like that was a move that the Phillies front office felt like they had to make. I'm not, again, just like Jake, I don't feel like making a managerial move like now in the season was like maybe the smart strategy. I feel like maybe like if you maybe like send a few guys down who are not performing well and maybe send guys up, maybe bench some guys, try some new combinations out and see what works, see what doesn't, and then see how it goes on. Because like you're going to like if you're a team like the Phillies, you're going to go through stretches like early on in the season where like some things just aren't going your way. I've just seen it firsthand with the Yankees plenty of times. They've had terrible starts to the season. I've seen it in June. They've had terrible starts to the season, but they all start to pick up like in between that and after that. It's just how baseball works. So, but from the Phillies perspective, like I can see like maybe why they would make a change like this because they want to like see like a fire lit underneath their team like from not performing. And so maybe they feel like firing Rob Thompson and then making Don Mattingly the new interim head coach can do that.
I mean, it almost felt like a panic move. And what's actually crazy is that two managers lost their jobs and we didn't even hit May yet. I mean, we just hit May, but Thompson was fired on Tuesday. We were in like, what was it, April 28th? So I feel like teams are panicking. The Red Sox definitely panicked. Not only did they fire Cora, they fired a lot of their staff. Alec, what are your thoughts?
Well, it was a desperation move that the Phillies did make this early into the season because I feel like they're not content with their current situation. The pitching is bad. The hitting is bad. JT Realmuto is once again injured. And Dave Dombrowski thought that he was going to get Bo Bichette in the offseason. He was poached by the Mets at the last minute. Aaron Nola has been awful. Taijuan Walker, that season he had last year, blip on the radar. He's back to being a bad pitcher. And Don Mattingly, he did have experience before with the Dodgers and the Marlins, but I feel it's going to be a sense in which they're going to stabilize this team for the now. I don't think this will last throughout the season. And already, if you're a Phillies fan, you're thinking about who are you going to hire for next year? There's going to be a lot of questions coming at Philadelphia one way or another because the core is already aging as is, and they already squandered their best chances at a championship.
Yeah, 2022 was their best chance. And even like the last 2 years where they were the 2 seed, you could have had a shot at facing the Dodgers to maybe get to the World Series. Now, the Dodgers, the way they're constructed, it was a lot. But definitely 2022, probably 2023 were like your best chances. And it's just disappointing, especially in a market like that. Like you're seeing big market teams like Boston and Philadelphia pull the trigger and say, okay, enough is enough. And speaking of Boston, we're going to go back to that. Things have just gotten from bad to worse. I mentioned that they fired a lot of their staff and they fired Alex Cora, but they also lost their star ace pitcher. Garrett Crochet is on the IL, and Boston has been in free fall mode. It's just gotten worse. They're not the worst record in the American League, but they're towards the bottom. It's actually kind of embarrassing. And keep in mind, this was a team that made the playoffs last year. And let me tell you why Boston's in this position. They got rid of their stars. You let Bregman walk. You let Devers walk. Craig Breslow should at least lose his job for what he's been allowing to happen in Boston. And Alex Cora was the scapegoat, and they shouldn't have fired him. Like, to me, Craig Breslow is a really ruckus and very mediocre general manager who doesn't take care of his star players, and he's had a reputation of doing that. Why do that to your star players? I have no idea. To make way for the future? Well, look at what Roman Anthony has been so far this year. He's been mediocre, to say the least. So you need to have star talent to complement young players. Letting Bregman walk was the stupidest thing they could have done. And they didn't even try to bring him back. That was the most embarrassing part of it all. I mean, Jake, like, if you're a Boston Red Sox fan, like, you got to be disheartened a little bit, because this team was in the playoffs. They got embarrassed by Cam Schlittler, and it seems like they went downhill from there.
Yeah, I mean, I think like they should have made moves to upgrade instead of letting Bregman walk, essentially for nothing. Now your best players are who I would consider to be really good supporting cast members, like Jarren Duran, Wilson Contreras, Roman Anthony, Aroldis Chapman. Those are guys who I would consider to be really good supporting players for a true superstar, a true number one option. And so the Red Sox are now without that number one option, and we've seen what happened. But like I said before, Alex Cora was kind of dealt a bad hand because of that. You know, when you have a roster that's not constructed with, you know, your top engines like having Alex Bregman around, you're not going to do that well. Now, I look at this, they haven't really had any like long stretches of winning. Their longest win streak this year that I can see is 3 games.
Yep.
But their longest losing streak is only 4. Now, they've had 2 4-game losing streaks. But they're not a terrible team. I think they could finish the season about 500 or so if they continue to play at the level that they're playing right now. But they're just not a competitive team without the superstars.
Absolutely. And especially in a division like the American League East, that is also a bad hand, because, like, I know the Yankees are currently dominating the division right now, but Tampa Bay is looking pretty good to start the season. And then even Toronto, once they pick things up, Baltimore, when they pick things up, like, that's going to be tough for Boston. That's a tough level for them to climb. And unfortunately, like, again, letting your star players walk, Craig Breslow's fault. Why he didn't get fired beats me. But Boston put themselves in this position, and they only got themselves to blame. Would you say, Alec?
I have to say, yes, Boston indeed put themselves in this position where they didn't pay their star players. They let them and walk for absolutely nothing, Alex Bregman, as you saw. But also Craig Breslow, as we've seen of him, he hasn't done a good job at filling in those gaps that were left behind because of his actions about letting them walk. Not to mention about how incredibly cheap Fenway Sports Group is, the organization that owns the Boston Red Sox. I've seen in this firsthand about the cheapness of FSG with my Pittsburgh Penguins in the NHL, with how they operated matters. You know, no team should have to deal with the ownership of FSG. The only legit explanation for this is that they're pouring money onto for Liverpool or whatnot. That's my only explanation. There is no other way how this makes sense.
It doesn't. Like, Fenway Sports Group, I've heard a lot of bad press surrounding Fenway Sports Group. I mean, Kevin, why is Fenway Sports Group at the hand of this? What's going on?
Yeah, Fenway Sports Group. I mean, like Alex said, they're like, you know, they run the Red Sox and Liverpool, and I feel like they're just not investing their resources into making the Red Sox like a better team. Like, I feel like it's like you guys said, it's not all Alex Cora's fault. I mean, like, it's not his fault that, like, he got dealt a bad hand, like Jake said. I mean, like, the product on the field is just not good right now. It's very inconsistent offense wise, and you would expect that, like, a team like the Boston Red Sox to sort of figure it out offense wise. But like Jake said, by losing Alex Bregman, he was kind of like the nucleus of, like, the offense of that team last year. And, like, you got to remember, they had both Bregman and Devers to start the season last year. And there were 2 vital pieces offensively that you could lean on if you're Boston. And you trade Devers away for 4 players, 3 of which are now dealt to different teams. Right. And one of who, which is Kyle Harrison, who is doing great right now with Milwaukee. So that's like a big blow even after that trade. And, like, what did they do instead to replace him? They got Caleb Durbin to replace him for third base, and Caleb Durbin was once a Yankee prospect, and then we traded him away to Milwaukee for the Devin Williams trade, and Boston decided to get him to be kind of the Alex Bregman replacement. And he's not been exactly the type of player that you thought you were going to get when he was playing with Milwaukee. So that's also like a bad job done too. And then, like, they started to upgrade their pitching, but with Garrett Crochet not being as good as he was last year to start, and now he's on the IL. It's just very unfortunate for them. And they get Ranger Suarez, and he's been decent, but he hasn't been like world beating, like
Right.
Garrett Crochet has been, right? And then like Brian Bayo. I mean, Brian Bayo has been awful. Like if you look at his ERA, it's like over an 8. He was so bad that like they decided to pull his start against the Yankees because of how bad he was. They decided to put Peyton Tolle in, and you know what? Peyton Tolle had a great game in that game. Like I feel like that their younger pitchers, like Conley Early and Peyton Tolle, are like the best pitchers that they've got right now, especially with Crochet on the IL. So I feel like it's definitely a culmination of all that. Like the pitching hasn't been like bad, but it also hasn't been like good. The offense is the big issue here. How inconsistent they are. They can't hit runners in scoring position. They constantly make errors defensively, and it just seems like there's no real true leader like in that clubhouse. Like if you look at the lineup, I mean, like with Roman Anthony not performing up to the caliber that we know that it can be, like what he showed last year. The best hitters on the team that they got, in my personal opinion, are Wilyer Abreu and Wilson Contreras. That's not like a good recipe to have. Trevor Story, who they were leaning on to be like a big guy to play this year, he's not been good at all. Like he's been like not the type of player that they signed him for. I get he was injured for like his first few seasons, but like this season, you would think that he would like pick up like slack offensively with like no Bregman or when Anthony's struggling. Nope, it has been the case, and it's just they have to try to figure it out. And I feel like the same thing with Dave Dombrowski and the Phillies that the Red Sox felt like it was the right move to make a drastic change to fire Alex Cora and even not just Alex Cora, but like 5 or 6 other members of the coaching staff to try to light a fire under this team and see like if a new voice, a new lever to try to get themselves going. And they're still like losing without Alex Cora. I guess I know it's early on after the Alex Cora firing, but we'll have to see. But you look at the Boston Red Sox now; they're sitting last in the American League East. They're 9 games back of first place, and they have 1, 2, 3. They have the 5th worst record in baseball right now. So they've got to start winning if they're going to have any chance of even potentially even making a wild card. So yeah, not too good in Boston right now.
I mean, in fairness, it's only been a month.
Yeah,
but they have to make a quick adjustment and fast because when it rains, it pours when you're a bad team. And that's what's going on in Boston. It's raining right now, and they're like at the calm before the storm. If they don't get back on track in some way, shape, or form, it's going to get ugly. In a market like Boston, it's going to get ugly if things don't change.
And you also got to factor in that because they're doing this bad, then that means that if you don't start improving, you have to hit at the trade deadline because that's where bad teams can all of a sudden improve and actually start to do good like post All-Star break. So Boston needs to ace the trade deadline. I don't know who they would trade. My guess is that like they would trade one of Early or Tolle or someone like that because those are 2 like bright young pitchers that like any team can use. But the question is, I don't know if they would deal them because like they did get it's just signed Suarez to a long-term deal, right? They just got Caleb Durbin. They're committing to Garrett Crochet even when he does return from the IL. So who is like your big trade piece that you're going to trade to improve the team? Where I feel like offensively, that's the main area you need to address if you're Boston.
And they also locked up Roman Anthony long term.
That too, yeah.
So there's a lot of things that they got to sort through. Now I know it's only been 1 month in Major League Baseball, but through this month, there have been some surprises. There have been some things that I didn't expect. There have been some players who are performing way above their potential and some who are not performing up to their potential, and it could all be surprising. So what I'm going to do to wrap up this MLB segment is I'm going to ask each of you what your biggest surprise for the month of April has been. I'm going to start off first. This is a 2-part thing. Part 1, the fact that the Sacramento A's are currently battling for first place in the AL West right now, and the Houston Astros are in last place with the offense they have. They're 13-21 right now, which is shocking because Yordan Alvarez like in the top of the home run race right now at 12, and the rest of the team just can't pick it up. And Joe Espada, I mean, the fact that he isn't living up, the Astros aren't living up to where they should be, it's because of Joe Espada. And I think his seat is getting lukewarm every single day. The Astros are losing games and they're not living up to what they're supposed to be. And Espada is at the forefront of it all. So the AL West may part one surprise. My part two surprise is something that's close to home. How about that Ben Rice? Ben Rice has been incredible to start the year, batting at 330, I believe, to start the season. The dude has 11 home runs, which I think is top 5 in Major League Baseball. And the fact that he just seems consistent, even when he's not hitting home runs, he's still driving runs in. He's still getting a single. He's still getting doubles in. He's getting on base in some way, shape, or form. Hell, he had a steal today. He stole a bag. So Ben Rice is getting better with his game every single day, it seems. And that's, I think, the most surprising thing. And the fact that he's right there with Aaron Judge in the home run race is shocking, but in a great way. All right, so I'm going to come to Jake first. What's been your biggest surprise for Major League Baseball in April?
I would say how good the NL Central has been this year, because for the past few years, you're looking at them as the sort of mediocre division. But right now, you got the Cubs 21-12. They're on a 10-game home winning streak. And right behind them, 1 game back, the Cincinnati Reds. 1.5 games back, the St. Louis Cardinals. I don't think anyone's really talking about that. The Brewers, 18 wins, 2.5 games back. The Pirates also 18 wins. They're 3.5 games back. I do think that really is anyone's division, but I'm just shocked that the Reds are right up there in the race with the Cubs, and the Cardinals are not too far behind. So I was thinking that this would be a division where probably the Cubs or Brewers are back at it again, fighting for top position like it's been the past 5 or 6 years or more. But no, the Reds are making moves. The Cardinals are, feisty as always. The Brewers are a little disappointing, but they're not that bad. They're .563 winning percentage on the year. The Pirates are what we thought the Pirates would be, but they still have a lot more wins than I thought they would at this point in the year.
Right.
So really, all 5 teams in that division have an opportunity to go out there to win it, get themselves a nice little playoff spot. And it's possible that we see another wild card team come out of this division.
It's very possible. Like Pittsburgh today put up 17 runs against Cincinnati Reds. Like Cincinnati's at the top of the division right now, but how about Pittsburgh? I mean, ever since they called up Connor Griffin, it seems like their offense has just gotten better and things are starting to gel. Now they still have a lot to play for, and there's still a lot of games to be played, and they do have to play the Brewers, and the Brewers are always going to be tough for them. But credit to Pittsburgh where it's due, and getting rid of Derek Shelton, I think, was the best thing that they could do.
Big time. It is the best thing that we can do.
Speaking of which, Alec, what's your biggest surprise of April?
Oh, glad you asked me, because I know this is going to go on to the continuation of what we were talking about, but this is a bit of a homer take, but I want to back you up on the Pirates. That the additions of Ryan O'Hearn and Brandon Lau sparking the desired effect with run support for our bats. That's an area which we've been sorely lacking last year. With our pitching staff being great, the one thing that's held us back is the lack of run support. Now we finally have that run support. As with the ads that we've had with O'Hearn and Lau, most of all. Jake Mangum, good speed option and a backup for the outfield. Marcell Ozuna, still trying to find his footing, but I hope that he's not an idiot off the baseball field. But still, the point is as follows. This is a fun team to watch. And the fact that we're putting up runs the way we are, well, the Pirates, I'm not expecting playoffs. I want to temper my expectations if the Pirates just as of right now. But at the minimum, I can see 80 wins with the Pirates.
That's an optimistic total.
And the Hurricanes just scored again. Jackson Blake.
2-0 Hurricanes. My God. All right. We'll get into hockey in a little bit. But, Kevin, what's been your biggest surprise of April?
Well, Jake took my original idea for it, was how competitive the NL Central was, but I'll do something else.
Okay.
My biggest surprise is how surprisingly competitive the Colorado Rockies have been this season.
Right.
Now, if you look at their record, they're 14-19, but compared to what they were last year, it's really good. And you look at the teams that they beat, they took 2 out of 3 in their series against the Blue Jays. They beat the Phillies back early on in the season. They swept the Astros. They took 2 games against the Dodgers. They beat the Padres, and they recently swept the Rockies. This Rockies team is sneaky competitive. Even though they're in a very tough division for them to win or even gain ground in with the the Dodgers and the Padres in there. But I've been very surprised with how well they've been playing against better competition. And like, of course, like with the payroll, how little of they have it, and like they didn't really have like big. They don't have like the biggest names on there, but like they have guys who like put the ball in play. Their bullpen's surprisingly decent, and I feel like they play like they got nothing to lose. And I feel like it's a great thing for like the Rockies, a team like the Rockies, to be competitive. So I very surprised by the start that they've put on so far.
And Mickey Moniak and Hunter Goodman are at the forefront of this. Those are the two that have been producing more than anybody on the Colorado Rockies right now. And sometimes you mentioned playing with nothing to lose. Sometimes those teams do succeed more because if you have no expectations, you can just go out there and play baseball. I mean, all the Colorado Rockies have to do is be better than what they were last year. Last year, they were absolutely pitiful. So now you say, okay, let's not humiliate ourselves again and actually put up a decent product.
And the good thing and the cool thing about the Rockies is they're not even last in their division, which is shocking. The Giants are. And their run differential, it's only a -9. I mean, that's really good. That's strong improvement for the Rockies when you consider the fact that this team, I think it was it last year or 2 years ago where they lost over like 100 something games. And they were one of almost the worst team in baseball in terms of like, in the history of the game. Like you look at the White Sox from a few years ago, you look at the Rockies from I think it was last year that they lost like over 110 losses to now where they actually start to look competitive and they're like playing like they actually like have something to play for. It's really refreshing to see.
It is. And I think it was around this time in like June, at this time last year, they had like low single-digit win total at this time last year. Like they were pitiful. So at least now they're playing respectable baseball. And I do have one more surprise that I wanted to mention. The Chicago White Sox are not that good, but Munetaka Murakami has just been killing baseballs in a city near you. He's just been he leads the league in home runs. He's at 13, and that number is going to grow because he just has this power and he has a good swing to him. I mean, the White Sox are not going to be a good team, but at least they know they got something good in their lineup.
Yeah, he's a true 2-outcome hitter. He either strikes out or he home runs, and he's homering whenever he gets it.
Very hit or miss, but you know what? He's got power. He's got power. All right, so now we're going to get into the NHL. This is Alex's favorite sport, favorite league in the whole wide world. And you mentioned before the Carolina Hurricanes are up 2-0 over the Philadelphia Flyers. Well, Alex has something to cheer for. Unfortunately, the Pittsburgh Penguins did not come back down 3-0. And if you watched last episode, Alex brought out his inner Joker and Bane combined. We're talking about the Houston Rockets. We'll get into the NBA a little bit later. But, Alec, how are you feeling about the Penguins now that they're eliminated?
Well, I have to say, was a good season. Well, but sadly, that reverse sweep was just not meant to be. I could have told you that perhaps we could have started Arthur Shelovs from the very start of this postseason. Yeah, I don't know if that's going to change a thing. Of course, they say the hardest game to win is always the fourth game, and the Flyers found that out. Yet Arthur Shelovs had the game of his life in Game 6, yet we couldn't even get anything past Dan Vladar. And kudos to Vladar. He's a really good goalie in his own right, and he was one of the main reasons why the Flyers are in this position. He used to be a backup on the Boston Bruins to Jeremy Swayman, and he used to be a backup on the Calgary Flames to Jacob Markstrom. And it was good that he learned from the two of them because those two are two of the best goalies in the NHL, Markstrom and Swayman, as we're speaking. And that helped him get the starting gig in Philadelphia, in which it previously thought was going to be Samuel Ersson or Ivan Fedotov. Neither of them have panned out. Vladar has been outstanding. The youth movement in Philadelphia has been growing nicely and smoothly with Trevor Zegras, Matvei Michkov, and one of the former Michigan State Spartans, Porter Martone. He was crucial to Michigan State's run into the Frozen Four tournament this year and its freshman year. And I'll say the whole butterfly effect is huge here because Martone had it was huge in the series early with 2 game-winning goals early in the series, games 1 and 2. And he was crucial in being a presence up and down the lineup. It helps that his line mates are Travis Konecny and Christian Dvorak because Konechny's a two-way presence. Dvorak's a shutdown center presence. Kind of similar to Sean Couturier, who's on a fourth line role. So kind of surprised to see Couturier accepting a fourth line role. But he's the captain. He has no complaints about it. And quite frankly, no hockey player complains about it. But whenever you push a series to 6 games, I have no complaints about it. When you're down 3-0 in a series and you push it to 6, I have no complaints for a team that has no expectations. Now, what do? Is this the last right for Chris Letang? If it is, then I'm thankful for him. But it feels like there has to be a coming into God moment because he is well beyond his prime. What happens with Evgeny Malkin? Does he stay for one more year? In which I hope he does because we need him to mentor the youth. Igor Chinikov, does he get a new contract? What happens with Anthony Mantha? I'm going to say this. I would not be mad if we let Mantha walk in free agency because he cost us with brutal turnovers late in this series and all series throughout. Even for his goal-scoring prowess, feels like there are reinforcements in the way, like Koivunen, Rutger McGroarty. Oh, we're already seeing the breakout Ben Kindle. What happens with Justin Brazo? Does he stay or does he get flipped for assets in the future? What happens with Sam Girard? Do we run it back with him or get him traded in the off season? Because I could have sworn Girard was very hit or miss, but I'm not ready to give up on him yet. Overall, this was a fantastic year. I don't know if we're going to be back in the playoffs next year. If we miss, I wouldn't be mad because, quite frankly, in the same way I didn't have any expectations for this year, I have expectations for next year either.
Yeah. The unfortunate thing for Pittsburgh is that they haven't won a playoff series. The city as a whole hasn't won a playoff series in 8+ years. So that's the unfortunate thing for Pittsburgh. I think the latest team to win a playoff series for that city was what was it? Was it the Penguins?
Yeah, it was the Penguins, 2018 against this very same team we lost to.
Wow, that's unfortunate. I mean, listen, I will say this though: the Philadelphia Flyers were hot coming into that series, and then Dan Muse's inexperience at the head coaching level in a playoff situation, I think that ultimately got to the Penguins. And listen, it happens. I mean, when you come in with fire, you're going to burn whoever's in front of you. Although I will say, for the Flyers' sake, they're learning firsthand the Carolina Hurricanes are a tough task. So,
yeah. But also, Rick Tocchet knows the Penguins well. He was our assistant coach in the Cup years with Mike Sullivan.
Correct. You're right. All right. Now, one thing I wanted to mention, and there's a reason why I titled this episode the way it was. So, outside of the Canes-Senator series and the Avs-Kings series, which were the top 2 teams in their respective conferences, every other series in the first round of this playoffs went to 6 games or longer. The only series that is going to 7 games is the Canadiens and Lightning. And if you haven't been watching that series, oh my God. 4 overtime games in 6 games. Crazy. And this Game 7 will be played in Tampa Bay tomorrow at the time we're recording this. So I'm just going to let you in a little secret. I picked the Canadiens to win the Stanley Cup. If they go down, my bracket is absolutely toasted. You might as well just toast it and then spread butter on it. That's what you would do with my NHL bracket.
And I picked the Lightning to go to the Stanley Cup final.
You did.
And I picked Canadians to go to the Stanley Cup final. So, Matt, I'm kind of in the same boat except I have Montreal losing.
You did. You have the Minnesota Wild winning.
Yeah, yes. And not to mention, every game in this series has been decided by 1 goal. 4-3, 3-2, 3-2, 3-2, 3-2, 1-0. So what are the odds we have another 1-goal game in this series? There have only been 2 series ever in the NHL that had the full 7 games being decided by 1 goal. 2012 between the Capitals and Bruins, 2015 between the Rangers and Capitals. Home ice, though, has not been an advantage for the Lightning in the playoffs as of late. In their last 12 playoff games at Benchmark International Arena, formerly known as Amalie Arena, they've only won twice.
Wow.
But there's a benefit. They're 4-1 in Game 7s at home.
And with a team of that kind of experience, you figured that they'd actually get an advantage on the Canadiens. And they have the momentum going in because they won in overtime in Montreal when the Canadiens were trying to close it out at home. So now they go back to Tampa Bay and try to pull it out in 7 games, which Kevin said he had Lightning in 7 in this series. Alec and I both had Montreal in 7 in this series. So it all comes down to this.
Montreal needs the Nick Suzuki line as a whole to step up because they've been getting eaten alive 5-on-5. The only points they're getting is on the power play. They need to step up their 5-on-5 game a lot, especially because Suzuki's one of the best defensive centers in the league.
Jake, what are your thoughts?
Well, I honestly, like, at this point, I'm just ready for a great Game 7 because at this point, I can't really predict anything to do with the NHL playoffs. I predicted Boston was going to win in 4. So I don't really think that I have much room to speak on like my prediction, but give me Montreal to win this one in 7. I just think I've liked the way their offense was throughout a lot of the regular season in comparison to the Lightning. Now, throughout the playoffs, both teams have been very comparable offensively. Like Alex said, it was a lot of one-goal games, but I do like Montreal's chances to win this Game 7 and go to take on the red-hot Sabres in round 2.
And you mentioned the Buffalo Sabres. I mean, Kumbaya. They can sing Kumbaya in Buffalo finally because they won their first playoff series in 19 years by beating the Boston Bruins in 6 games. Congratulations, Buffalo. You deserve this moment, especially against a team like the Boston Bruins, who are one of the original 6 franchises. Other results, I mentioned the Canes and Senators. The Golden Knights beat the Mammoth in 6 games. The Anaheim Ducks beat the Oilers in 6 games.
That's another big one.
That was shocking. That was shocking to say the least. And I know Alex got a lot to say about that.
Yeah, it was. Well, to say the least, I thought the Ducks' lack of momentum in the playoffs was going to catch up to them. But little did we realize that the Oilers have a terrible roster construction. In this entire tenure, you can make the argument that the Edmonton Oilers, under the tenure of Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl, have assembled the second worst case of superstar mismanagement in the history of North American professional sports. The only one ahead, Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani with the Los Angeles Angels.
Definitely.
In this time frame, the Oilers had at general manager Peter Chiarelli, Ken Holland, and the disaster that is Stan Bowman, who needs to be fired from his post. And arguably, he should have never been hired as general manager to begin with, given that 1, he's a terrible general manager, and 2, he's an even worse person. Chris Knobloch can only do so much, and yet he may be shown the door because they're not getting to that next level. And if I were the Oilers, perhaps I'd make a power play maneuver to fire both of them and hire Bruce Cassidy at head coach, because when's enough? If you're wanting to get a general manager, you have to get a bright young mind for this job. And no, that list is not going to include John Chayka because he's going to the Toronto Maple Leafs. You seriously entrust him to run on the Maple Leafs? Okay, but that's besides the point. But out of the 2024 team, there's only less than half of the forwards left of that 2024 team. Half of the defensemen left there. And their starting goaltender, Stuart Skinner, gone. Calvin Pickard placed on waivers. You see the all-time greats, and it took a while to get to winning the Stanley Cup. They had great goaltenders or Hall of Fame goaltenders. Alex Ovechkin had Braden Holtby. Steve Yzerman and Al McInnes had Mike Vernon on separate stints. Joe Sakic, Peter Forsberg, and Ray Bourque had Patrick Waugh. Nikita Kucherov and Steven Stamkos had Andrei Vasilevsky. What do McDavid and Draisaitl have? Over the last few years, 3 of their goaltenders were placed on waivers, including Pickard. Those 2 other goaltenders were Tristan Jarry and Jack Campbell, who doesn't even play for them anymore. Jarry is stuck on the team with an unmovable contract, buyout proof, and just lost his starting job to Connor Ingram, who I didn't think would even get the starting gig at the beginning of the year. But here we are now. The Ducks ran them up and down the lineup. Jackson Lacombe held Connor McDavid in check, which to Lacombe's credit, he's going to be one of the best defensemen in the league over the next few years. He's incredible whenever you watch game film of him. McDavid, and it's not just the fact that Lacombe shut down McDavid. McDavid can only do so much when he's playing through a foot fracture. Try skating with a fractured foot. You can't. I dare you. You can't. Same thing goes for Jason Dickinson. foot fracture. Leon Draisaitl has been left out to dry more often than not by players not named McDavid, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, or Vasily Podkolzin. Even Evan Bouchard looks disastrous on defense. You see games in which they've been playing without McDavid, and with Bouchard leading the way, it's not good. I thought he was a Norris contender. Oh, Maron, his defense has been disastrous. That's why he needs Matthias Ekholm home next to him. The cup window has been slammed shut, and this is why I've been rooting for them to win that cup in 24. The reverse sweep, that is.
Right.
And now there are more questions than answers. We live in a world where a Canadian team that's most likely to win a Stanley Cup is the Montreal Canadiens, the last team from Canada to have won a Stanley Cup. Matt, I know you picked them, but given that's the likely scenario, time's a flat circle.
I mean, I feel like time's a flat circle for a while because a Canadian team hasn't won a Stanley Cup, like you said, since 1993. And if you're looking at what the Edmonton Oilers have done, they have just absolutely wasted Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl's potential. They absolutely they've killed them. They've killed any bit of momentum that they've had. And this series proved it because the Pacific Division, while it was not good, we've ranted on this a couple times, but McDavid and Draisaitl were the best players in that division by a country mile. And they looked absolutely shut down, and they were not at all contributing at all in this series. And Anaheim, I will say this about Anaheim, though, they were the only team in that division, that putrid Pacific Division, to have a true win over loss record. They went above 500 in total wins and losses.
Yeah. And now what do you do if you're Edmonton? There are dire questions that have to be made because this roster construction is terrible. They were so invested in the idea of Warren Fogle after losing him, so they go out and get Trent Frederick, who is nothing like Warren Fogle. He's a black hole in the lineup.
Right.
Not only that, but losing Philip Broberg is one thing because we didn't know what he was going to be. And the price tag in which the Blues got him on the offer sheet was too much for the Oilers to match. But Dylan Holloway, how can you excuse that? The price tag was half of Broberg, and the Oilers didn't even try to match that. Holloway's now a key contributor on the Blues, and the next step on this rebuild for them as they're selling off key assets. Maybe Jordan Kyrou is next. Who knows? Robert Thomas could be out the door. But that's besides the point. Goaltending has been the Achilles heel for them in the McDavid era. The best goaltender he and Draisaitl had was Cam Talbot, who was run out of town in 2019. And fans didn't truly appreciate him, and they took him for granted. That's not just malpractice, that's idiocy. That's how you squander a window 101. The truth is simple. The front office needs to trade McDavid when they can so that he can get an actual chance at a cup. If he stays here, he's going to get wasted to hell and back.
Yeah, Edmonton's got a lot more questions than answers of how they're going to build for the foreseeable future. So one thing I want to do before we actually get into our break, we have a little bit of time. Alec, I'm going to tell you, this is going to be called Stars of the Game. If you've been to any hockey game, the home team wins, they give you their 3 stars of the game. Alec, throughout this entire first round of the playoffs, excluding the Canadiens Lightning series for now, who are your 3 stars of the first round of the Stanley Cup playoffs?
All right. I'm going to go series by series here for this. So for the 3 stars of Carolina, Ottawa, first star, Logan Stankoven, second star, Freddie Anderson. This one was very tough because you can argue Anderson, but had it not been for this guy about to mention who I'm naming as my series MVP, Taylor Hall for the first star. All right. Colorado, LA. Anton Forsberg kept the Kings in this series and got the Avalanche shaking. But the second star, Gabriel Landeskog. First star, Scott Wedgwood, who was lights out in his first ever playoff series. Penguins and Flyers. Sidney Crosby's the third star. Sean Couturier was a defensive menace. Earns the second star. And the series MVP is Dan Vladar. The biggest reason why we didn't advance. Minnesota, Dallas. Quinn Hughes, third star. Matt Boldy, second star. They were great. But how about the all-around presence of Brock Faber, who is my series MVP? Minnesota put the clamps on Dallas at 5-on-5. Dallas can only rely on a power play all series. All right, and now Oilers Ducks. 3 stars. The first star is Connor Gauthier. Second star, Leo Carlson. Boy, they've been tremendous. But I am going to give a round of applause to Jackson Lacombe, who's easily my series MVP. What a debut it's been for him, not only on the offensive end, but also the defensive end. When you shut down the Oilers like that, you deserve praise. And the Sabres and Bruins, the first star is Alex Tuck. The second star is David Pasternak. And the series MVP, he was inserted into the goal crease in Game 3, Alex Lyon, who is the most clutch goaltender that is not an all-star right now in the NHL. I mean, what a run it's been for him, especially in those Panthers runs, the Sabres runs too. And now lastly, the Vegas-Utah series. The first star, it was pretty tight, but I'm giving the edge to Brett Howden over Dylan Gunther, who's my honorable mention. The second star is Jack Eichel, and the series MVP, oh, I'm sorry, Toronto, but I got to say Mitch Marner. Yeah, what a series it's been for him in his first series in Vegas.
And ultimately, I think those were all smart choices. I think this was a really competitive playoff first round, and it's going to end in a dramatic conclusion. And arguably, what's been the best series by far in this opening round, best series by far has been Canadiens and Lightning. And when Game 7 happens, I got the Canadiens winning. I'll say 2-1 Canadiens.
Oh, going with another one-score game. All right, if it is a one-score game, who do you think scores the game winner?
Cole Caulfield.
Oh, you love Cole Caulfield, do you?
Short Kings rule the world, 5'7".
Oh, yeah. My man.
Wait, Jake, how tall are you?
6'3".
You're 6'3"?
Yeah.
You're the tallest one here. I'm 5'11".
You're the tallest one. 5'7". Kevin's 5'11", and you're
5'11",
6'3". My God.
Wow.
I'm not that tall.
Hey, listen.
Compared to us.
To me, if you're taller than 6 foot, you're tall.
No question.
Oh, man. Actually, now we're going to get into a little bit of NBA before we actually go into the DA's Technology Consulting break. I got to get into this because this was astounding to me. So we're going to get into the Magic and Pistons series, Game 6. This is going to be all Jake here. So the Pistons were down 60-38 at halftime in Game 6. The Magic had to win this game in order to clinch the series and knock out the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference. Now, what had happened was Detroit was miscombobulated. Offensively, they were terrible. And then second half, they flipped the switch. And they outscored the Magic 55-19. And pun intended, the Magic made a 22-point halftime lead disappear.
That increases 24 points if you include the start the third quarter.
That's correct. So it was a 24-point lead. But, Jake, I got to ask you, what the hell happened?
You know, from watching this game, I don't know if this was as much a Pistons comeback as much as a Magic choke. Because if you watch that second half, you watch the Magic offense, they couldn't buy a shot.
Mm-mm.
You couldn't do anything. Pistons were playing lockdown defense. The Magic were jacking up absolutely horrid shots. And so you look at the fourth quarter, the only field goal the Magic made was a wide open dunk when they were already down over 10 points. That's the only field goal they made in the fourth quarter when the game was close. Now the Pistons start getting their shots to fall, which hasn't happened really all series, save for, I want to say it was game 2. No. It might have been game 2. But basically we couldn't buy a shot for pretty much the entirety of the series, and we couldn't buy a shot for the first half. And then all of a sudden, we're hitting our threes. Kay's making his free throws. In fact, the only free throw I think we missed in the fourth quarter was that Tobias missed free throw that would have made it a 13-point game. So instead, we start just making our shots. But then there was also this really awesome dunk block Asar Thompson had. I believe it was Desmond Bain goes up for a two-handed slam, and Asar Thompson flies in from behind and yanks the ball right out of Bain's hands. Now this, I thought they would have called a foul, but No, it was all ball. So he gets it, and there's just no life left for the Magic because soon after, Duncan Robinson goes and jacks up a three. No business going in the hoop. And guess where it is? It's in the hoop, +3 to Detroit. And we get all the momentum coming back to our place for Game 7 in a series that reminds me a lot of the 2003 Magic series where Tracy McGrady said it feels so good to be in the second round, only he never was in the second round because we came back down 3-1. And I think the reason we're coming back down 3-1 is largely due to Cade Cunningham. If you saw his Game 5 totals, you would realize that he is a monster and needs his supporting cast to help him. But really, he's out here dropping 45+ points in the playoffs. Like that's not any average star behavior. That is superstar. That is top 5 player in the league. That is future MVP sort of behavior. And hopefully for me, that is future finals MVP behavior.
Now, what I'm going to say about this, it was an excellent point. What I'm going to say about this, Cade Cunningham, had he not had his collapse long, should have been named NBA MVP.
So I'm biased, but I absolutely agree. He's way more ethical than Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
Yeah.
Mr. Free Throw, I wouldn't give it to him.
Mr. 20 points a game.
I mean, Wemby's a good MVP candidate, I'm not going to lie. And honestly, I could see a good argument for Wemby over Cade, mainly because of his defense. But I'm a Pistons homer, so I will have defended Cade all the way. Of course, it's not going to happen due to the collapsed lung really taking a toll on his totals. Yes, he got exempted, but I don't think that's going to help him out that much. Him and Luka. Luka was putting up absurd numbers before his injuries. And I think Luka would have been another great candidate for MVP, but instead we're likely going to see Shai Gilgeous-Alexander go back-to-back, and I'm just not happy about that.
Honestly, I'm not too thrilled about it either. Like, listen, I get Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is good and everything. The best player in the NBA last year, and he averages 20 points. He gets 20 points a game with ease, and he's got the record of 20-point games. I get it, but it's just a boring pick. It's just such a boring pick. He's great. But if you look at what Wemby has done, look at what Cade Cunningham has done, look at what Luka has done. Like, the NBA has a bunch of other young studs besides Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
And what do those young stars do different than Shai Gilgeous-Alexander? Well, other than Luka, we're going to say everyone else but Luka. Wemby and Cade are some of the most ethical hoopers I think I've seen in the NBA in a very long time because we're in an era with a lot of flopping. Wemby doesn't do it. Cade doesn't do it. Cade needs to get more calls. I don't know why the refs hate him, but Cade, he doesn't flop. He doesn't throw his hands up. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, you touch him in his 2 free throws. It just doesn't make sense why you'd give someone who does that the MVP. And I've seen OKC fans come in here and tell me, he doesn't shoot a lot of free throws. He doesn't shoot that many. If you look at other players, well, guess what? How is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander getting to the line? How? But it's literally he takes a step and he's on the ground crying for a free throw. It doesn't matter if you touch him as the defense or not. It doesn't matter. Can't contest a shot. So he's either going to get a free layup or he's just going to get 2 free throws.
Yeah, he plays really good. He probably does a good acting job too because the way he just sells it, that's how he gets the free throw. So he's literally, you make a good point. You could blow on him and it's a foul.
Yeah, it's everything that people have said for the past 10 or so years about how soft the NBA is getting. SGA is literally like that to the highest possible level that you could imagine. It's like, yeah, I thought James Harden was bad in 2018. Then I saw SGA, and I'm like, I would love to go back to the James Harden days.
Yeah, honestly, at least the James Harden days were physical.
Yeah, at least he gave you an entertaining 50. If SGA scored 50, it would be the worst 50 points I've ever seen.
Yeah, when a good amount of your points come from the line, it's not that impressive. When I'm gonna say 25 to 30% of his points come from the line.
So Matt, with you saying that, are you saying that Bam Adebayo's 83-point game was not that impressive then?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. First off, the Wizards were idiots for fouling him like that.
They were.
I mean, you're trying to help him, if anything.
You're giving him points.
You're just helping him. You're just helping him get to the line. You're helping him get the record from Kobe.
And
If fouling
honestly,
was like a game in and of itself, the Wizards would be at the top.
and honestly, if he had made all of his free throws, he would have had 90 points.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Oh,
for sure.
and then the first game back after playing them from the 83-point game, the Wizards go back to triple teaming it. It was like they have PTSD.
Oh,
Like
it was
they're
terrible.
traumatized.
It was terrible.
It was crazy. Is after all that, Bam Adebayo did nothing the rest of the year, and he didn't make it out of the play-in.
Yeah, that's right. Well, in fairness, he did get hurt in the play-in.
Yeah, in fairness to them, yes, they did get hurt, but what was that, Tyler Hero?
Okay, we have a lot more NBA to get into. We have Fresh Founder Friday to get into. Before we get into that, we got to go to our sponsor, DAS Technology Consulting. DAS Technology Consulting is there for you in all your IT, infrastructure, and data center demands. And if you want to know more about what they do for you to help your IT business run well, here's Darren Sirianni. Take a listen.
Our mission is to deliver high quality, scalable, and secure data center services that ensure seamless operations for clients across various industries, offering best-in-class data center services all under one roof.
Ladies and gentlemen, DAS Technology Consulting is the business for you, for your IT infrastructure data center demands. Now, data centers have been a little bit controversial as of late, but they're still serviceable as long as they just don't expand like crazy, like people have been saying. But anyways, welcome to hour number 2 of Foursquare Sports. Matt Sirianni, Kevin Stolix, Alec Nava, special guest Jake Hauger of East Lansing High School Zone. So we have a lot more NBA to get into, and we're going to start off the NBA, continue the NBA segment rather, with the rest of the playoff results. Now, I'm going to get into one series that I think really stood out to me. I'm talking about the Minnesota Timberwolves series and the Denver Nuggets series. Here's why. Minnesota was down bad as far as their roster in Game 6. They did not have Anthony Edwards. They did not have Dante DiVincenzo. And they did not have Iron Dosunmu, one of their better bench players. But Jaden McDaniels, Mr. calling out the Denver Nuggets defense by name, did something that he didn't expect to do. 32 points against the Nuggets. Naz Reid also contributed a good amount as well. And then Rudy Gobert, with his great defensive prowess, led the Timberwolves to victory in Game 6. Alex Rodriguez, who's part owner of the Timberwolves, was there. He was loving it all. And I got to tell you, Chris Finch is becoming one of my favorite coaches in the NBA. Because this Timberwolves team is arguably one of the more talented teams I've ever seen. And even though they get underseeded, keep in mind, a couple years ago, the Timberwolves, Nuggets, and Thunder were the top 3 teams in the NBA by record, and they were all in the same division. So this rivalry between the Nuggets and the Timberwolves, I think, is one of the best rivalries, if not in the entire NBA, in the Western Conference for sure. Because the markets are not that big, but the talent across both sides is there. Like in Denver, you have Jokic, and then in Minnesota, you have Naz Reid, you have Anthony Edwards, you have Rudy Gobert, and Minnesota, what they lack in star power, they have in talent, and that's what I'm going to say about Minnesota. And now I don't think they're going to win in the Western Conference semifinals against San Antonio, but if there's one thing I can tell you is that they're going to put up a hell of a fight even without Anthony Edwards, because if they can do it against Denver, they can damn sure do it against San Antonio. Now, I've praised Chris Finch in the past. What were you going to say?
I would say for the Nuggets and all that, and with them losing to the Timberwolves, I'll say for Nikola Jokic, if you're the best player in the NBA and you're going up against a Timberwolves team without Anthony Edwards, without Dante DiVincenzo, without Ayo Dosunmu after Game 4, there should be no reason why you would lose this series, especially when you have the best offense in the entire association. It's going to put a stain on his legacy for such a serious loss like that, especially because it was in the first round. It was in 6 games, and in 3 of those games, they didn't even break 100 points. For the best offense in the NBA, you did not even break 100 points in any one of the 3 games at Target Center in Minneapolis. On 96 in game 3, 96 in game 4, 98 in game 6.
Yep.
And it wasn't like Jokic wasn't trying. Is that he is so he of course he was being his MVP self, yet one way or another the offense falters or gets shut down. And whether it's taking Jokic away or taking his other options away, Minnesota played a defensive masterclass in those 3 games at Minnesota. Rudy Gobert being the anchor of it all. And don't forget about Jaden McDaniels being an underrated two-way presence, both offensively and defensively. We said this time and time again about Minnesota's defense. And Chris Finch, I'm also starting to like him too. He's slowly becoming one of the best coaches in the entire NBA. But oof, Maron, Denver. Right off a 7-game series loss against the Thunder. Okay, I can respect that. That was the Thunder. They were the best team in the NBA. I didn't expect Denver to get past OKC last year. Minnesota in the first round, down 3 players, inexcusable. There's no way you can twist this. Jamal Murray, Cam Johnson, they trade places as being showing up or fading. When one of them showed up, the other faded. And there's no in between. It's like the complicated on-off switch in a light. You turn on one lamp, the other lamp shuts off. You turn on the other lamp, that one lamp shuts off. Which one is which?
Honestly, Denver, I think their championship, like, remember in 2023 when they won the NBA title and people were like, oh my God, they can win 2 or 3 titles. I saw a stat and I was amazed by this. Their playoff record since the 2023 NBA championship, 16-16. They're 500 in the playoffs the last few years.
Perfectly balanced, as all things should be.
Thanos?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my
Thanos
God.
likes that.
Life's about balance.
Its day extracts a heavy toll.
Anyway, Jake, what makes Minnesota so good even though they seem underseeded half the time?
To me, that's a tough one to think about, but I think they're just a really well-constructed team because even without Dante, without Ant, and even without that spark off the bench in Ayo, I think that Rudy Gobert has done a really good job anchoring this team defensively. Everyone likes to make fun of him as being one of the worst DPOY candidates that we've seen for the past few years now, but I think he's done a really good job of holding down the fort defensively. He's held Jokic to some underwhelming playoff performances by Jokic standards, and honestly, the Nuggets were defensively shut out in a lot of games this year. As Alex said, it was about 3 in the series that they were under 100 points. And if you can't score 100 points in the modern NBA, you're not going to win, especially in the playoffs, unless you happen to be on the Detroit Pistons for whatever reason.
Right.
Or the Lakers in Game 6. But
oh my goodness.
But essentially the Timberwolves have just been able to be, they play as a team. They played well defensively, and that is what I think has really got them this series win. Now, I don't know how they're going to do against the Spurs. I think the Spurs probably have that in 6, maybe 7 games, but I think the Timberwolves are really just hoping that, Ant recovers pretty quickly. But if not, they might give the Spurs a little bit of trouble because of their defensive ability. It's like putting 2 really good defensive teams, I think the 2 best defensive teams in the West, up against each other in the semis.
It's going to be interesting to see that battle inside between Rudy Gobert and Victor Wembanyama. But I think from what I've understood, Rudy's up for the challenge. And you know what? Good for him. I mean, if he's ready to take on arguably the biggest unicorn the NBA has ever seen, then you know what? Go for it.
Yeah.
Now, another series I want to get into, Kevin, I know I mentioned the Knicks and Hawks. We got to go over that blowout by the Knicks and Hawks in Game 6. It was 83-36 at the half. the largest halftime postseason deficit in NBA playoff history. And it was like, what was it, 9-5 at one point, Atlanta, and then the brakes just fell off. It was a 39-4 run. Things just got out of control. And then at one point, they were up by 61 points. They were up by 61 points. No, you did not hear that wrong. 61 points. And they won by 51 points. It was actually the largest NBA playoff blowout through 3 quarters when they were up by 53. Kevin, what? Explain what happened.
All right, hold on. I have to turn the background off for this one real quick.
He's getting his Knicks hat, aren't you?
What happened, Matt? This is what happened.
He's gonna get it. He's pulling the Michael Irvin.
That's what happened.
He's
That's
pulling
what the Knicks did to the Hawks right there. Fell to ass is what happened. Now I'll put the background back on. Now I'll put it back on. There we go. The Knicks probably put on the most dominant playoff win you are ever going to see in your entire life. You mentioned how Atlanta went up 9-5. Not only did the Knicks go on a fantastic run, they went on a 71-16 run after the Hawks went up 9-5. Absolutely incredible defense by the Knicks. OG Anunoby had an incredible game early on, and he was just want to know why? I think it's because that Anne Hathaway was praising him the other day, like when she was on the Jimmy Fallon show, saying like, "Oh, she wants to wear OG's jersey," and OG loves to play for the celebrities. OG, after Anne Hathaway said that, 29 points, 7 rebounds, 2 assists, 4 steals, 11 of 14 shooting, and 4 of 6 on 3-point range. And you mentioned it; it is the largest halftime lead in NBA playoff history. And there were plus 49 points since Atlanta led 11-9 at 8-11 in the first half. For OG, 26 points in the first half, which is the most of any half of his entire career, and more stats because it's a lot. The Knicks had as many steals as Atlanta had made field goals in that first half with 12 steals. That is incredible defensive work. More stats because why not? The Knicks led by 47 points at the half and 53 points after 3 quarters, both of which are the largest in playoff history. It is the largest home loss in the Atlanta Hawks history, the largest playoff win in Knicks franchise history, and it's the 3rd largest series clinching win in playoff history. And how about some more for not so great stats for the Hawks? They have not won a playoff series since the 2021 East Finals run. They went 28-15 after trading Trae Young away, which is a respectable stat. And then they went 18-21 prior to the trade. Now, they did get CJ McCollum, but unfortunately for them, he's an unrestricted free agent after the season just ended for them. And they do have a club option with Jonathan Kuminga, so they have a lot of decisions that the Hawks need to figure out. Now, they do have a guaranteed lottery pick for a more favorable pick, whenever it comes from the Pelicans or the Bucks, but they do have that guaranteed lottery pick, so they can use that to rebuild. But the Hawks were just playing so bad; they were not putting out shots. They were not. They had no chemistry. The Knicks had all the chemistry in the world. Like the shots were falling. We were getting threes. We were getting any shot we can get. Every single player on the Knicks roster scored. That's how good they were. They were so good that they stopped playing their starters like halfway through the 3rd quarter. The game was after the 1st quarter when they led 40-15. Incredible amounts of defense. And I was talking about this in the rant that I said. The defense from Cat needs to be stronger and to be more urgent. I saw that and plenty from Cat all 3 games after they were down 2-1 in that series, especially in this last game where he was blocking shots, he was defending well, he was driving to the rim. Now you got to remember, the Knicks were up, I think, like 30-something points, and Cat didn't even score a bucket yet.
No,
that's how good that they were. Cat didn't even score until I think midway through the 3rd quarter, and it's just incredible. I have full confidence the Knicks were going to win, even if it was in Atlanta. I didn't expect them to win like that. That is incredible. And you know what? I feel like they were playing extremely good basketball when they were down 2-1. When their backs are against the wall, this Knicks team is dangerous. It doesn't matter if they're at home or on the road. In fact, I think they played better on the road in this series and in years past. So I feel like when their backs are against the wall, or if they're not in a familiar environment in the Garden, I feel like they play extremely well. And I feel like that's where their chemistry shines. And I really like the fact that Mike Brown is getting good matchups here and there. And then they finally figured out that, we can actually guard CJ McCollum after game 3. So I feel like that's a big contributing factor to it as well. I love the fight between Mitchell Robinson and Dyson Daniels. When we were up 50, fight happened, and I love the ferocity from Mitch Robinson there. Obviously, there was some chippiness between him and Dyson Daniels, both shoving each other and all that, talking smack, and then obviously people went down and stuff, so both got ejected. I feel like that was the right call. Mitch Robinson had an incredible defensive presence that entire series, even though and he got some great dunks in there. I mean, he was doing okay from the line. I mean, he didn't miss 2 in a row, which was nice. At least he always gets at least one, and he's been very good. I mentioned that he posted something on Twitter right before that game. He's fire in his eyes, and he just stared at something burning on the ground, and he had fire in his eyes in that game. I'll tell you that.
He did.
The defense was incredible. That fight, he got ejected. The league fined him $50,000. Who cares? He'll be fine. And but this Knicks team, that is the kind of play that you would expect a team with championship aspirations to put on. Now, hopefully, in the next series, whether we get Boston or Philly, we'll see, pending the outcome of the game tonight, if the Knicks can carry on this type of physical play towards into the next series, because I feel like this Knicks team, like I said, I do expect them to go to the Eastern Conference Finals, and I did pick them to play against Detroit, so we'll see what happens in the Magic Pistons Game 7. Hopefully Detroit can pull it out, because I want to see the Knicks play against good competition. But yeah, it's just absolutely incredible. Obviously, I don't expect it to win by that much again, but if they can performance like that against Philly or Boston, I'm going to feel really good heading as the more that this postseason goes on. So I'm ecstatic to be a Knicks fan right now, and I just hope that this is not the only series where they play like this. I hope they continue to play like this from here on out.
All right, I want to give you a little update on that. So right now, the Philadelphia 76ers are up 84-66 with 2 minutes left in the third quarter.
Wow.
18-point deficit without Jason Tatum.
Also, I think I said this in our little Discord chat, Matt. I said that you asked me about who I want to face more or not more next round. I said that I think that the Sixers would be a tougher matchup for the Knicks, personally, because I've seen both of these teams play against the Knicks throughout the season. And the Knicks had a 3-1 record against the Celtics in the regular season. One of those wins was when Jason Tatum was back, and they still won. The Knicks have a 2-2 record against the Sixers in the regular season.
Correct.
They had a 1-1 record against them in those half of those games with Embiid in the lineup, 1-1. When Embiid's not in the lineup, they're also 1-1. So they're evenly matched in terms of matchups against Philly. So that's why I said I feel like Philly would be a tougher matchup. And right now, Philly is almost up damn near 20. So it looks like you might see Knicks Sixers, depending on if Boston can come back. But losing Tatum tonight definitely stinks. I know they haven't played with Tatum for much of the year, but I feel like if Boston does come back and they win, I'm not scared of Boston at all. You want to know why? Because I said it when we were starting our NBA bracket challenges. I'm not scared of them for a couple reasons. Number one, I told you guys that last year when we beat them in 6 games, we weren't supposed to win that series. The Boston Celtics were favored to win the whole to get to the NBA Finals that year, and they had a lot of talent on that team, and they were a tougher team last year than they were this year. I said this about Duke basketball.
You did.
Same tougher team last year. This year, look what happened. They lost to UConn. They weren't supposed to win that game, right? And the Knicks weren't supposed to win that series. Look what happened. We beat them in 6 games. And I predicted this year for the Knicks to beat the Celtics in 6 games. We'll see if the Celtics can even win this game, and we even face them, right? And the Celtics last year, you got to remember, they had Kristaps Porzingis, Al Horford, and Drew Holiday, all key contributors to that team, with Jason Tatum still healthy before he had that Achilles injury later on in that series. And yes, Kristaps Porzingis was hurt, but I don't want to hear the nonsense of that because, like, you had Al Horford, you had Drew Holiday, you had what's that guy's name that's on the Spurs now? Luke Cornett, you had him.
Yeah.
He had a legacy game in Game 6. So I don't want to hear the nonsense of like, oh, if Porzingis was healthy, stop that. Okay. And now the Celtics fans, if they lose tonight, it's gonna be like, oh, well, if Tatum was healthy, you know, it's always something with them. You know what I mean? So like, we'll see. Like that's why like I'm not afraid of Boston because you guys both said it. The Knicks are made to beat Boston. Against the Phillies, not the Phillies. Against the Sixers, I feel like that'd be a much contested matchup, and I feel like you would get a more entertaining series that way.
And also, it'd be really intense because of the Philadelphia and New York sports markets going against one another, and also Joel Embiid being the dirty player that he is, trying to get under the Knicks' skin. Kind of like what CJ McCollum tried to do in the Knicks series against the Hawks, although that didn't work.
Definitely didn't work. Try again.
And also, I did mention that I don't know if I mentioned this, but in my NBA bracket, I have the Boston Celtics making it to the NBA Finals. I'm gonna try and make this like it was in Atlanta, a funeral. Amazing grace, how sweet the sounds. R.I.P. my bracket.
Got to bring Marcus Freeman back out from his vacation.
Oh, Marcus Stewart.
Marcus Freeman. Marcus Stewart. Yeah.
We're Notre Dame's coach.
Yeah. Freeman's the Notre Dame coach.
We're bringing in Notre Dame's coach for this segment.
Maybe he'd be a good therapist. You never know.
I mean, that would be a pleasant surprise in that way or another.
See, Jake doesn't know about this. So, Jake, Marcus Stewart is my alter ego. He's a therapist.
I see.
He only comes out from his vacation whenever one of our teams is bad and we're mad at them.
Like whenever we're about to go full on rant mode.
Detroit sports.
Do I bring him out?
No. Keep him in the closet.
You can bring him out for MSU basketball, right?
Okay, sure.
What?
No.
Oh.
Hi, y'all. How you doing? My name's Marcus Stewart. I'm PhD therapy, and I'm from New Jersey. Anyway, I think I have some lines in my hand because I know that people love to talk about their sports problems. Anyway, I only accept health insurance with my sessions. I don't charge a lot of money either. But if you want to call my number if you want a virtual session, that's acceptable too. My number is 123-456-7890.
Go back on vacation, Mark.
I see I have a Michigan State alum or soon to be Michigan State player in this here panel.
Marcus Stewart from New Jersey, but he sounds like he's from Alabama.
I have a very soft New Jersey accent. I may not be
New Jersey.
No, that sounds very Southern. Stop lying to us, Mark.
Clearly a con artist who says he's from New Jersey and he's from Alabama. That's why his rates are so cheap.
No wonder.
No wonder why he doesn't save health insurance. Anyway, let's get back into basketball, shall we? All right. We want to get into another series that's actually going to a Game 7. Raptors, Cavaliers. I never expected this series to go to 7 games. We said this before we were doing our NBA bracket challenge. The Raptors were cooked. They have no experience. They were going to get eaten alive. And then Game 6 went to overtime. RJ Barrett had a Kawhi Leonard-esque shot that it was a three that bounced off the back iron and then just fell right in by the grace of God with a second left in overtime. And then just like that, it's getting a Game 7 in Cleveland. I'm telling you right now, if the Raptors pull this off, that'd be probably the biggest underrated upset of this whole NBA playoffs.
What the Howie? That looked like Halliburton's free against the Knicks.
No, don't say it. Don't say
No,
it.
don't
Past
say
that.
that.
Sorry,
It's
but I
actually-
had to.
Past it.
It did look
past
like
it. We're past it. I like the Kawhi
I don't
reference
make
better.
the
I like
rules
the
here,
Kawhi reference
Kev.
better.
To be fair, it did look like the Halliburton shot.
It did. It did.
Yeah, it did.
It did.
All right.
So I gotta ask all of you guys. I'm gonna start with Alec here. How is Toronto staying in this?
Beats me. I mean, Toronto looked like a team that should be cooked in the playoffs. I mean, no prior experience between them. Darko Rajakovic, young head coach who hasn't even been to the playoffs before. Yet we're underestimating some of the underlying factors around team chemistry. This team has amazing chemistry with one another. RJ Barrett and Scotty Barnes, you know these two. And this is without Emmanuel Quickly, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Colin Murray Boyles, who looked like he didn't want to be a Raptor at the first place. He's been an effective presence here for the Raptors, especially in that overtime game where he had 17 points off the bench. RJ and Jacoby Walter has been stepping up his game more and more as the series has progressed. And Jamal Shed looks like a legit point guard for Toronto. And while he didn't have the best game in Game 6, his 6 assists along with Scotty Barnes' 14 assists, that was big. Walter's been upping his game, especially from distance. Barrett, same thing. Barnes, good presence. Jakob Poeltl, in the interior, he's been but if he can step himself up, and Toronto will have a shot at this. How did this even get to overtime in the first place? I get it. Donovan Mitchell is supposed to be Cleveland's best player, but there are times in which the Cavaliers have just looked flat offensively at some points in this game. And I'm looking at the game log for Spida.
Yeah.
And here in Toronto, ever since Game 2, Donovan Mitchell has not looked good. In the first 2 games of the series, 32 points and 30 points. Ever since, 15, 20, 19, and 24 in an overtime game. That's not going to get it done for Donovan Mitchell. He has to step up in Game 7 and be the team's best player. You can't rely on an old James Harden to do the heavy lifting.
You can't rely on James Harden in the playoffs, period.
Nope.
No, you can't.
He's a known playoff choker.
Yeah, you can't rely on James Harden in the playoffs either.
I'm going to say this right now. If the Cavaliers lose this series tomorrow when they have Game 7, if I'm the Cavaliers, if I'm Donovan Mitchell and I'm James Harden, I'm hiding my face in shame. Because there's no reason the Raptors should be in this series. No reason whatsoever. And like I said, by the grace of God and the Cavaliers shooting themselves in the foot in some way, shape, or form, we're going to a Game 7 in this series, which I did not expect at all. At all.
Let me ask you guys a question, by the way. If the Raptors somehow win Game 7, can we all agree that OG Anunoby trade that the Knicks made with the Toronto Raptors is probably a really good trade now in retrospect? Because the trade was the Knicks get OG and the Raptors got RJ Barrett, Emmanuel Quickly, and draft picks. It's starting to look like a pretty good trade if Raptors win the series, you know?
If the Raptors win the series, I agree.
Yeah, if the Raptors win, I can agree on that. I just pray they don't follow the footsteps of the Maple Leafs.
Oh, yeah.
Well, unlike the Maple Leafs, the Raptors actually have a championship that wasn't from dinosaur times. So
That's right.
Oh, yeah. That, and they can actually win Game 7s.
That was a great team. That was a really good team.
That 2019 team is like the stuff of legend. They weren't even supposed to be in that position, and they fought their way there.
I mean, let's be honest. They did benefit from injuries a lot, but it was also Kawhi Leonard. Legitimately, like he was the best player in the world, and I think we all forget about it. Looking at him on the Clippers now, he's sort of dropping a quiet. I believe he's averaging around 25 to 27 points. But you might look at him now; he's like a good star player, but like in his prime, which I believe was 2019. He was otherworldly, especially in the
Yes, he was.
For sure.
Like the best player in the world. I think that was the best way to put it.
At that time, yeah.
At that time.
Yeah. Now times have passed him by. All right. So now we're gonna get into other series. Well, not really much to say about the Spurs and the Blazers here. I mean, the Blazers had one game. Alec was right about Spurs in 5. Blazers didn't really stand much of a chance. The Suns didn't stand much of a chance at all. They got cooked by Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. And the Lakers and Rockets. Oh boy, do I really want to get Alec mad again?
What do I have to say? What do I have to say? You don't even need to bring Marcus Stewart out there, because if I were to repeat myself, that's going to be a broken record. This is, no hyperbole, the most embarrassing loss in a playoff series in the history of the Houston Rockets. Name a bigger one. Name a bigger one. Oh, you can't?
Name a bigger one. How about 27 missed threes in the Western Conference Finals? That one was a lot bigger than that. Let's be honest. Come on.
First of all, the Rockets have consecutive streaks of missed free, so you're not impressing me with that. Second of all, the Warriors had a fully healthy starting rotation that series.
And the Rockets were still going to win. The Rockets were up in that series. You're talking, if Chris Paul doesn't get hurt, the Rockets probably would have won that series.
True,
and if they have a better game plan than jack up 27 threes in a row, then maybe, just maybe, they would have won that. But no, they completely embarrassed themselves back then. I wouldn't put a first-round series loss to the Lakers as more embarrassing than that. Come on now.
Now, to be fair, go ahead, Alec.
You're missing the point that this Lakers team was missing Luka Doncic and Austin Reeves at the same time, and we let wet farts on the court, especially from deep. Oh, Maron! Again and again and again.
Yes, it was embarrassing. It was absolutely embarrassing.
He's chucking freeze. Like it's gonna make a difference. Reed Shepherd goes from being a sharpshooting 3-point shooter to a floor fight Brandon Podziemski. Oh my goodness, the world is ending. It's over again. Take a little over here. The world is ending here in Houston. And we're retaining Ime Udoka so that this offense can remain steady.
If that's the world ending in Houston, were you around for the James Harden era in Houston? This is the world ending? This is the world ending.
I lived through this. That's funny because I lived through it years.
A first-round series loss to the Lakers is the world ending.
Silas years. This is easily taking the game. And this front office is planning on giving Ahmed Thompson a 5-year deal worth $200
million. The Rockets weren't a good team. The Rockets would have gotten smoked in round 2.
Yeah, we would have. We would have got smoked in round 2 nonetheless had we beaten the Lakers. It would have made a difference. Ahmed Thompson is a defender. So why he's not a number 1 option? Why are you handing out $250 million to him? Should he accept that?
Alec is turned into the literal Joker.
He's delirious. That's what he is. Why is this one worse than choking Game 7 of the Western Conference Finals in 2018?
Because it is.
How?
No Luka.
First round series.
Losing 6.
It's a first round series when you're not expected to do anything. How is this worse?
They had 41-year-old LeBron James as a shell of himself.
That's LeBron. That's arguably the GOAT.
Not to mention that Kevin Durant just quit on us while being injured.
That's Kevin Durant for you.
Yeah.
Have you followed Kevin Durant's career since, I don't know, 2012?
And it makes me go back to wondering why I've hated him ever since he went to the Warriors. This is so pathetic.
To be fair, Kevin Durant getting hurt and quitting on the team, and you also got to consider the fact that Fred VanVleet and Steven Adams got hurt in the beginning of the year.
Yeah, that's right as well.
Like maybe if all 3 of those guys were healthy, maybe the Rockets would have actually won the series in less games than like what happened, even with Luka and Reeves hurt at the same time. So you got to factor that too. But,
that explains nothing of why we have a terrible bench and Rafael Stone did nothing to address it. Oh, was the injuries? Why, let's play this out. Let's not trade for Kobe White or Anderson. Let's definitely the team finds. Oh, we get 2 games back. What? No! We get 2 games back on the This is gonna begin my descent to madness. This Rockets team
it's not that bad realistically in perspective. If you're thinking about it, you weren't supposed to do anything this year anyways.
I mean, second round was always gonna be our ceiling, but I didn't imagine having to.
So yeah, if the second round's your ceiling now, I'm gonna be honest. You're good. You're really good here.
Okay.
This is not that bad, if I'm being completely honest. You have a good core to build around. You have Kevin Durant, who's always going to command you a good trade value. You're not in a bad spot as a team.
I hope the Şengün rumors are merely an overreaction. I hope the Şengün rumors are just merely smoke on the water, because I don't know what's going to happen to him in the future. Perhaps, who knows if he returns. But we need to realize the players for what they are. And we need to keep getting 3-point shooters who can actually shoot threes. You can't just rely on a bad 3-point shooting team with tall players, because if you have tall players, their specialty is rebounding. Stop chucking threes when it's not their specialty.
That's also the modern NBA.
Yeah.
See if Grayson Allen's available from the Suns.
Well, yeah, he used to trip guys in Duke, but why not get the sharpshooting free like Grayson Allen? He'll definitely help the Rockets on our bench unit nonetheless. We need bench guys. Big time. It's a disaster on the bench. You can't even name one regular who plays more than 20 minutes a game, aside from those who are injured. Aaron Holiday, he's not known for anything besides being the brother of Drew Holiday. Clint Capella, well, he's washed at 31. At least he gets rebounds, but he's not a big minute player anymore like in his prime years.
True.
Jason Tate, I want him off the team.
Right.
I want him off the team.
Okay.
Okay. I'm tired. I'm tired.
I would think you are. Okay. A little update. The Celtics are battling back. It's 92-87 with 8:40 left to go in the fourth quarter.
The Sixers had an 18-point lead.
It's down to 5.
I see it's down to 4 now.
Now it's down to 4. Oh my God.
Me as a Knicks fan, chilling, watching the madness unfold like this.
Oh yeah, that's right, because the Knicks are the only team from the East that's advanced so far.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say, I would rather want Boston to win this than have Philadelphia experience anything nice.
Yeah, I don't want Philadelphia to have any good things.
I don't care. I think the Knicks are going to beat either team.
Yeah, okay.
Same.
Well, I'm going to take that clip and I'm just going to put it on our next episode. If the Knicks, in fact, do win or lose, I'll put that. I'll be like,
go ahead. I have confidence.
Down to 2.
Down to 2? Oh my God.
It's the East Finals where my confidence drops a bit if Detroit makes it. So
this is absolutely crazy. Well, don't tell Jake that.
It's fine. I went on record saying that I think the Pistons are going to win it all. So that's not a knock on anything.
You did say that. You did say that. I had that on record. I wish I put the clip of that. I even said Jake Hauger and Patrick Roche, stand up.
Mm-hmm.
Jaylen Brown has 30 points.
This is crazy.
And
okay.
only 5 Celtics have scored.
1 point game. It's a 1 point game.
It's a 1 point.
Oh my God. I think it's an N1.
It is
it's
an
N1.
1 point game with 8 minutes left. Yep.
All right. Well, we have 20-something minutes left. I guess we could call it a little early. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been really fun with all the sports talk. Actually, before we actually do get into our last segment of the show, there is something I want to get into in other news. This is March Madness related. So it's official. March Madness will expand to 76 teams beginning in 2027 tournament. and the Pac-12 will come back. It'll be an 8-team conference. And I just want to give my quick thoughts on this whole thing. March Madness is a great tournament. It was fine the way it was. I don't see any reason for an expansion of 76 teams. I think that March Madness is fine. At like 68. You have a couple playing games, and then you have the 16, 16, 16, 16. Like, you're giving teams that has fewer credibility a chance to play for a national championship and get in another playing game. What for more money? It just doesn't make any sense. Like, the expansion doesn't make any sense. For the college football playoff, okay, expanding it to 12 teams, that made sense. This does not make any sense, in my opinion. Jake, what do you think?
So I think that it's just a really unnecessary move. Just in the idea that you can get as many teams as possible here into the March Madness, because everybody always says, "Oh, March Madness is great. I love March Madness," and everybody's watching those day 1 and day 2 games. They should be national holidays, right? But the way that I see it is just you're doing too much at this point in order to try and be fair to a lot of these schools with 500 records and are squeaking into the NIT, because with 74 teams, Auburn doesn't miss. And that to me gets to be a bit of a problem, because now you don't earn your spot in. You literally just be a average team and you can make it in. And it's not like they're expanding it to include more like guaranteed bids for conferences that are lower, like say the Horizon League. They're doing this, they're just straight up spots open. So theoretically more SEC, more Big Ten teams can make it, more Big East, ACC. And so to me, it just doesn't, it's just going to devalue the tournament, because none of those teams that are below the top 64 or really the top 32 have a chance at even making more than just like one upset. I mean, you've seen the tournament recently has not been kind to upsets in the NIL era. So I don't know why you're trying to include more upsets in the NIL era where they just don't happen. You're just going to get a lot more games that are just like bad hoops between bad teams, just so that way they can get smoked by actual contenders in the actual field of 64 or the field or the round of 32. And none of those teams that are getting these extra spots are going to do much more than maybe sneak into the Sweet 16. So I just don't see any reason for it.
I bet you the rationale behind that was, oh, look at Texas. They made the Sweet 16 this past tournament. Oh, look, we were pissed off because Miami, Ohio got the last bid over Auburn. We want to right that wrong. Like,
we want everyone to be available. Everyone can join. Everyone can play.
You get a bid. You get a bid. You get a bid. You get a bid. Everybody gets a bid.
Yep. And so it makes it a little less prestigious to make March Madness. You know, Spartans have made it over 20, 30 years in a row. But that's not going to mean that much if we're like the 75th team in instead of like the 16th team in, for example.
And of those new 8 bids that they're adding, only one of them is a conference bid, and that's because they're resurrecting the Pac-12. All the other 7 bids are at large.
That's ridiculous.
Terrible. Absolutely terrible.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Now, I think we could say it's time for our last segment. Ladies and gentlemen, grab your popcorn ready. And there's only reason for that. It's because it's time for it.
It's time for Fresh, Fine, or Fried.
Our last segment of the show. This is the segment that I like the most. And the reason why it's called Fresh, Fine, or Fried is because I'll explain the rules again. One person every single week on this panel will get 5 minutes to go about any sports take. It doesn't have to be sports related either. 5 minutes about any take that they want. And at the end of your 5 minutes, you'll be rated on a scale of fresh, fine, or fried. Fresh meaning it was a good take, fine meaning it was an okay take, and fried meaning it was an outright horrible take. Kevin's on the hot seat this week. He's got 5 minutes to say whatever's on his mind. Kevin, 5 minutes on the clock. Are you ready?
Yep.
Go.
Now, originally, I was going to do something like, positive for this Fresh, Fine, or Fried, but I thought of something like midway through the show that I thought I think we talked about it already. I think I had to bring this up. We already mentioned, the firings of, about Rob Thompson from the Phillies and Alex Cora from the Boston Red Sox. Both of those teams just thought it was the absolute, right decision to fire both of their respective managers to try to see if there's a turnaround, a drastic change to get their teams to play better, because both of those teams have been very consistent. They've been awful. They've not been playing up to their own standards, and those two managers are now available. Now Alex Cora is taking a year off for family, and Rob Thompson's available. But yet there's one coach in this whole entire baseball MLB that has not been fired, that absolutely needs to be fired, and that is Carlos Mendoza, the manager from the New York Mets. And the fact that the Mets aren't firing him is shocking to me, to say the least, because you look at the way that the Mets played. They've been playing horrible baseball all season long. And I think the big crux of the problem, you might not even argue Carlos Mendoza, because it's not all of his fault. It's David Stearns' fault for managing the roster construction. It's Steve Cohen for not giving seemingly a damn about it. And he just found out the other day that the Mets have no plans to fire Carlos Mendoza, and David Stearns has some assurances from Steve Cohen that his job is safe. That is terrible. Now, I mentioned for years how I hate the Yankees front office. I hate Hal Steinbrenner. I hate Brian Cashman. I hate Aaron Boone. I wish one of those guys would take accountability and be fired. But at least they're playing great baseball right now, and they're consistent with making it to the playoffs. But it doesn't matter if you don't win the World Series in my eyes, but that's besides the point. For the Mets are acting like that and more, to a worse degree. They have the biggest payroll in all of baseball, and the big crux of it all was Steve Cohen hiring David Stearns. And David Stearns decided to let Pete Alonso, Brandon Nimmo, and who was the third guy off? Pete Alonso, Brandon Nimmo, and Jeff McNeil walk. Those three guys were very good offensively for the Mets, a lot of seasons in the recent years past. You let Pete Alonso walk. You let your best closer and Edwin Diaz walk. You overpay to oblivion out of Juan Soto, who is your only good hitter on your team right now. And even with him on your roster, you're looking like a terrible team, because David Stearns decided to get guys who hit for high average: Jorge Polanco, Bo Bichette, Marcus Semien, Luis Robert, and they're all playing terrible because you're playing them out of position. You're playing Bo Bichette, whose career it was playing shortstop, who just transitioned to playing second base. You're playing him at third base. Terrible. Jorge Polanco has never played first base in his life, except maybe like one or two times. You're playing him at first. Marcus Semien, they're playing him at second base, and he's regressed so much to a degree where you regret you even traded for him. And Luis Robert, hot to start the year, and I was falling off a cliff. This whole roster construction minus Juan Soto is garbage. Francisco Lindor, I know he's hurt right now, but before the injury, this guy does not have the sense of urgency. He doesn't seem like he cares about winning. He doesn't seem like he cares about the direction of this team. Like whenever they do win, it seems like he doesn't give a damn. Like this team, like when you had Alonso on this team, you had a true triple threat in Soto, Lindor, and Alonso. That threat is gone now because Lindor is not the same as he was. Alonso's gone. Soto's there and is fine, but how long can he realistically last? Even when he was hurt, this team was garbage. When he's healthy again, the team is maybe a fraction of a percentage better, when he's playing. But this team is absolutely garbage because the front office, including David Stern, decided not to make a drastic change and fire Carlos Mendoza when Rob Thompson is right there. If you want to light a fire for this team, you need to fire Carlos Mendoza and hire Rob Thompson.
That's it?
Yep.
With
Wow,
8
okay.
seconds.
With 8 seconds to spare. Okay, we're going to start with Jake. Jake, fresh pound of fried.
I'm going to say that's pretty fresh. If you look at pure roster construction, a lot of what is going on with the Mets isn't Mendoza's fault. They let a large portion of their star players go. But also at the same time, when you are horribly mismanaging the players that you do have, that's not on the front office. That is on your manager. And so you need to get him out of there. So I agree with Kevin there.
All right, Alec, first final pride.
It's the whole grand scheme is that with the Mets, they're a very interesting case. Terrible roster construction, terrible on the field product. It's a mix of all three factors about roster construction and the product on the field, bad management, and nothing is clicking over there. Francisco Lindor regressed. Everybody else, they also regressed. And Bo Bichette, he's being misutilized at third base. Why would you even consider putting him at third base when he's just learning how to learn second base? That's coaching malpractice. You don't put him over at second base. Instead, you put him over at third because if you think that Marcus Semien would be a better option over at second base, yet he has regressed so hard, and you'll think that he'd be a better option over Brandon Nimble. Well, are you happy now, Mets? Are you happy with how the way you constructed your roster? Are you happy now? Is pain and suffering the existence of the New York Mets at this time? Oh boy, there are so many problems with this team. Right after I heard about that fresh take from Kevin, and Mendoza is only a symptom of it. So that I feel Mendoza is just a symptom, not the problem. David Stearns has made all of these moves in which they think shiny bats galore. Throw all the money at it until the problem is here. Well, newsflash, the problem's still here, and no amount of money is ever gonna cure it.
Okay. Fresh. And the reason why it's fresh is because the Mets seem to make mistakes every time they want to make something significant happen. They try to make these big splashes, and it always just burns them in the face. Like, Juan Soto must be regretting every single penny he took from that contract with the Mets. Because right now the product is not that good. I know he wanted to be the face of New York, but he could have just stayed in New York and to be with the Yankees for all he cared. But you know what? We don't need you now, Juan Soto. So good. Take your $765 million and just stay with the Mets. But the Mets are just terrible roster construction. And we complained at the beginning of the year that they were playing a lot of guys out of position. And that was a recipe for disaster because look at what's happening to this team. And Carlos Mendoza, I feel like, was never really the reason why the Mets made it all the way to the NLCS a couple of years ago. He was part of the reason, but not the main reason. The main reason was a purple object from McDonald's because that was just a lucky charm. But in all seriousness, the Mets had luck on their side that year, and things were just going right. The Alonso home run against the Brewers, Lindor turning it on against the Phillies in the playoffs, Sean Manaea having the miracle run of his life. Like it was all a matter of luck, but ultimately things were just clicking at the right time. Mendoza just had the luxury of being the manager, and I'm shocked that he still has a job when two teams already fired their managers, and he still has a job. Steve Cohen, as rich as he is, money can't buy championships all the time. And you're seeing firsthand why. And rich people sometimes make the stupidest decisions when they're important. So absolutely fresh.
You also got to consider the fact, I love that you mentioned that, money doesn't always buy championships. The Milwaukee Brewers last year are a perfect example for that. The payroll from the Milwaukee Brewers is only a fraction of what the Mets were, and they were able to make it to a National League Championship Series, albeit they lost to the Dodgers, don't get me wrong. But, that proves that if you have guys who consistently play well, if you have guys who have perfect chemistry, a manager like Pat Murphy, who actually can get on those players when things go wrong and coaches them to a good degree, then you can make it far in the postseason, regardless of what the payroll is. Look at the Rangers and Diamondbacks from the 2023 World Series. None of them. We did not expect either of those two teams that year to make it. The Rangers were a wild card team that year, and they won the World Series that year.
Same with the Diamondbacks.
I feel like that's the whole it's the whole case. That World Series and the Brewers run last year, this is the whole case why I think people were like, we don't need a salary cap. That won't fix anything. We can play with the players we have. Well, guess what? it doesn't always happen. That's why it's cool when it does happen on the rare occasion, because with teams like the Rockies, the Marlins, who else? The White Sox, all those teams, they're starting to get a little bit more competitive, but I don't expect them to win a World Series. Maybe one of those teams can make a wild card. You never know, but it's not always going to happen if you don't start to spend at least to a certain degree. Like the Marlins, like they're keeping Sandy Alcantara as a trade piece. Like they just got Jacob Marcy, they got Owen Casey from a good trade, and like they're starting to build things together. Like Marlins, that's why they're competitive. The White Sox, they have Murakami, and nobody absolutely wanted Murakami because of his strikeout rate and because of like his bad defense. But yeah, he leads the major leagues in home runs right now. And at least the White Sox, they have some talent, even though we know that they're not a good team. The Colorado Rockies, we know they're a bad team, but they're a sneakily competitive team this year with a low payroll, and you have to have some sort of financial resource to get your team from being like not competitive or even slightly competitive to being an actual decent team and actually competing. That's why people want a salary cap, because you don't want to have nonsense like the Dodgers seemingly getting whoever they want. It doesn't matter because of their deferred contracts and because of the TV deal that only they have an exclusion from because of what's in their contract, that they can seemingly get whoever they want and that they can take most of the revenue and then defer it to the network later in later years. That's why the Ohtani contract is what it is, because he's making $600-700 million total, but he's only making like a fraction of it per year because of that TV exclusion deal. That's why the salary cap is needed and a floor, because you need to have incentive for bad teams to pay a certain amount to be competitive, because you don't want bad teams to be not competitive. Because do you really want to see teams like the Rockies and White Sox continue to win 120 games per year? I don't. I'm glad that the Rockies are actually like somewhat competitive, at least to start off. I don't think it's going to be that way as the year unfolds. I don't expect the same with the White Sox, but at least that they're somewhat competitive a little bit. Like if you start to pay more, like, let's say if the White Sox, what if the White Sox got Pete Alonso? How different would that team be? You know, what's happening with Alonso right now with Baltimore? I know they're injury ridden right now, but when they're all healthy, what's that team going to look like? You know what I mean? So that's the reason for that.
I get the whole thing 100%. I mean, there are currently MLB meetings going on right now in regards to the new CBA, so it's gonna be interesting to see what happens in that front. I mean, hopefully we get baseball in 2027 and there is no lockout, but all I can do is just hope and pray. I'm not too confident that they'll get done peacefully. All right, so that was Fresh Powder Fried, our last segment of the show.
Guys, quick scoring update. The Sixers are up 5 with 20 seconds left. Embiid looks shaken up along with Derek White.
Oh my God!
Embiid is grabbing his left knee.
Could this be real?
Matt,
oh my God!
I think you might need to keep recording to get this live reaction.
All right, we'll get this live reaction right now. Okay, we're gonna go over 2 hours, but that's fine.
Embiid tried to save it out of bounds, and then he got up and he started limping with his left knee. Now
he's very visibly shaken up. So is White. Yep.
Tyrese Maxey just hit a free throw on one, so it's 104-98.
And previously, Maxey got pushed off by Jaylen Brown.
There's no way.
Yeah. Brown pushed Maxey into Embiid, which caused Embiid to get hurt.
Whoa.
We all know Embiid's history with injuries, too.
Oh, yeah. Trust the process, right?
Those knees are dust. But Embiid's been playing real physical this game. I've been watching sort of off to the side while we've been recording, and I've noticed Embiid has been hustling. He's been doing just about everything he can. Embiid is willing his team to win this game, him and Maxey.
Putting his body on the line. Okay, so I don't know if you got the score, but right now I have it at 105-98 Philadelphia with 20 seconds to go.
This is why Maxey is Philadelphia's leader.
Yes. Okay, so 20 seconds to go. There's still some time left for the Celtics, but this is a 3-possession game right now.
No, I think it's over. It's over.
It could be over.
Too. It's definitely got 7 points with
20 seconds.
20 seconds left. It's got to take a miracle for it. Something that can beat out the Tracy McGrady miracle.
You need a 3, a foul, and for Sixers to miss free throws.
Or a 3 and then a quick turnover, another 3, and then you foul.
I don't see it. I just don't see it happening. When,
Yeah, no.
when Tatum was out tonight, I felt like that's a big factor. Look at their starting 5, by the way, the Celtics. They're starting Luka Garza, White Brown, Ron Harper Jr., and Baylor Shireman. That's their starting 5.
Oh my
That's
God.
brutal. And not only that, with those 5 that you just mentioned, Neemias Queta, who has been one of their better starters throughout the season, is coming off the bench. Nikola Vucevic, who they acquired from the Bulls, has not even seen any sort of action in this game.
Missed 3 and a foul, and Max is going to go to the line.
Okay, that should just
That's
about do
over.
it.
It's over.
And that should just about do it. Okay, so I'm going to put this on the tab right now. Where's the breaking news tab when I need it? Or I can just put update alert. There we go. So after that, I can officially confirm that the Philadelphia 76ers are going to go to the Eastern Conference semifinals. They will face the New York Knicks in round 2. And because the Knicks are the higher seed, game 1 will be held in Madison Square Garden. I'm assuming it's going to be on Monday because the Pistons / Magic versus Cavaliers / Raptors has not been confirmed. That will be the latest series to start. So, if you're just tuning into this, yes, the Sixers have won. The Celtics are going home. Well, they are home, but you know what I mean.
Now, quick reaction by me, who's a Knicks fan. I just said in the show that I think that the Sixers will be a tougher matchup for the Knicks, and I did mention the records against them in the regular season, 2-2. Both of those wins that the Knicks got were on the road in Philly. So,
right.
And one of those wins was with him being in the lineup. So I feel like this is going to be a good series. Embiid just got hurt though, so we'll see his status for the next series. But I'm still going to say what I said about in my NBA bracket challenge. I had Knicks in 6 against the Boston Celtics, and pending on the Embiid injury, I'm still going to say Knicks in 6.
Okay, Jake, what's your reaction?
I'm shocked because Boston was up 3-1, and I did not think Philadelphia had it anywhere in them to even come back in this series in the first place.
All right, Alec, your reaction?
I'll have to say Knicks win that regardless in any way. I feel it's going to be a series where the road team is the dominant factor here for the most part, but I see the home team stealing one, maybe 2 games in this series. How about this? If I could see something like this, well, we'll see. Like Knicks win the first one, Sixers get game 2. Then the rest of the series, the road team wins. Oh man, I can't believe the Celtics blew a series like that.
That's embarrassing.
Oh my god. Well, Celtics fans, you now know how I feel. You now know how I feel when the Rockets got embarrassed by the Lakers.
RIP my bracket.
What's funny is last year when we beat the Celtics, their excuse was, "Oh, if Tatum was healthy." Now this year, the same excuse is going to be, "Whoa, if Tatum was healthy."
Be so serious. You were without Tatum for a majority of the year. What are you
and you had the 2 seed.
And you got
now
the 2 seed. What are you talking about?
Now the Celtics have no excuse.
We would have beaten them in 6 games anyway.
All right. Well, after that update alert, I'm glad Jake actually told us to keep an eye on this. But anyway, that should do the show. From Kansas Holics out now, Jake Hauger. I'm Matt Sirianni. God bless you all. And if you're in Philadelphia, let the bragging begin. Anyway,
for now.
This has been Four Sports, which is sports at core. Take care, everybody. We will see you. Okay, quick announcement. We will be on May 16th. We will not be here next week. You want to know why? Because Kevin will be on vacation. Alec will be on vacation. John will most likely be on vacation. And then I'm going to be left alone.
No, thank you.
No, thank you. I can't do a show by myself. So we'll be back May 16th. May 9th, it gives a chance to enjoy our vacations, reset, recharge, and ultimately put up quality content like we've been putting up. But anyways, This has been Foursquare Sports with the Sports Ad Score. Take care, everybody. Have a good night. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
Hi, everybody. Christopher Mad Dog Russo here. And you know what I do? Foursquare Sports on Sunday nights, 6 to 8, with all those parts of the country taken care of. Listen all the time. You got it. Mad Dog on Mad Dog Unleashed. Listen to my guys. Listen to my guys.